Welcome everyone to another review video. Today we are taking a look at the NEEWER glide cam. This is a lower end glide cam coming in much cheaper than more like the flagship camera stabilizers. So we're going to do some tests. We're going to talk about this thing, talk about quality, how hard it is to use, how hard it is to balance, all of that good stuff. Let's get into it. Alright, so this thing comes with a little carrying case right here. Not very high quality at all, but nevertheless it does come with a little bit of a carrying case. And here is the stabilizer itself. So when it's not extended, as you can see, it's pretty short, but it does extend to much longer than it is right now. It also comes with a little instruction manual and a little way to contact NEEWER, customer service, and that kind of thing. It is 15 inches long like this and extends all the way up to 24 inches. So that is cool. It also comes with plenty of extra weight right here that you can put on the bottom of this thing. So depending on what your camera weighs, depending on what your lens weighs, you can add more or less weight onto the bottom of this thing for the counterweight. Alright, so that is basically what comes with this thing right here. I'm going to go into basically all the different functions right now, which is like kind of mind-blowing. If you're not used to a stabilizer, it can be a little overwhelming because there are so many moving parts and everything is like so precise. It can be really difficult to get balanced. So we're gonna go bottom to top. So you're gonna put on weights right here, but they do slide back and forth, and you can place them at different spots on the bottom. And then right here, this part loosens and this will extend all the way up, and this is your 24-inch length. So basically when you don't have enough weight on the bottom, you just extend this and then that'll balance it out. So that is adjustable, and then that just tightens with this little screw clip right here. Alright, so here is the handle where you're going to be primarily holding the weight of it, and then it has a bearing inside of here, so this spins really nice and smooth, as well as you have this motion as well to take out some of the jittering there. And then up here at the top, where things get probably the most technical, is the function of sliding both side to side and front and back. So as you can imagine, it can take a while to get everything balanced with all of these different factors playing in. I am still not very good at balancing this at all. It takes a lot of time and a lot of balances to get good at. I definitely have not mastered this. Don't buy this thing and be expecting it to be super easy. You just pop on your camera and it's ready to go. There's way more to it than that. So I'm going to go over the hardware of this thing a little bit right now, the materials that this is made with. Being a budget thing, it's pretty important to know that the thing isn't just made out of all plastic. This one is not. This pole right here is made out of carbon fiber, which is lighter than metal, but still pretty good and sturdy. And then this bottom plate right here is metal, as well as everything on the head is metal, except for, of course, the rubber padding where your camera sits. So there's a metal handle, but it's surrounded in plastic with this little like rubber grip right here. So that is cool, but the plastic does feel a little chintzy. I don't know, it shouldn't break, it should be fine, but it does feel a little bit cheap and chintzy. But other than the handle, the thing actually feels really well made. It feels really sturdy. It doesn't feel like the kind of thing that's just gonna break on you. All of like the screws and notches and stuff feel pretty solid. Nothing feels like it's just gonna snap within a couple uses. I've been using this thing for a little while right now. A huge learning curve with these things, so I'm not very good with it yet, but everything has been functioning great so far. So how long does this thing take to balance? That completely depends on who you are. If you are very used to balancing stabilizers, it shouldn't take you much time at all. If you're someone like me who knows very little about the world of stabilizers, I've never worked with a glide cam before this one. I've only worked with like the Ronin S, and that is a completely different story. That's all electronic. Everything is motors and electronics, which is the complete opposite of this. This is just hardware. And so I'm gonna see how fast I can balance this thing. Depending on the shoots, you're gonna be rushing around. So if you're doing like a wedding shoot, please have this thing balanced beforehand, unless you're like a ninja with this thing, because you don't want to be stuck there fiddling around with this little like thing, like trying to get it like perfectly centered over the top when there's stuff you got to be shooting. So make sure you have it balanced to how you want it before the time comes when you need it. Alright, let's do a balance test. Alright, so this is like legitimately probably my second or third time balancing this thing. I've messed with it a lot, but like full balances, maybe my second or third time-ish. So I am not an expert at this at all. I just don't know this thing yet. So this is a very raw time. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, now this is not balanced perfectly. but that took me roughly 7.5 minutes-ish to do that. So basically, this is on a bearing right here, and then this is on 2 little screws, which makes this a joint right here, so it has both the up and down stabilization and the side-to-side stabilization. So all this complicated stuff, but how does it actually work? We're going to do a test, basically shot for shot on the stabilizer, for shot handheld, and this is with that Canon 85mm, and it has no image stabilization. It's really, really jittery. For lenses like the 85 and the 50 that I'm shooting on right now, for lenses that don't have any stabilization, you're going to want a stabilizer, either like this or like a gimbal. Gimbals are far more fancy, far more expensive, and probably do a better job, but some people actually prefer these over the gimbals. You don't have to worry about a battery going dead. You don't have to worry about a motor going out. So these can be a little bit more reliable and a little bit more predictable. And I'm not going to be putting any aftermarket stabilization on either of the clips, so here we go. So as you can see, there's a pretty significant difference between the stabilizer and handheld, especially with these lenses that don't have any image stabilization. You're going to see a lot less of a difference on lenses or cameras that have image stabilization, but I had no lens or camera stabilization and no aftermarket image stabilization. So a great question when you're looking into buying really anything is, what is the biggest reason I should not buy this, as opposed to the biggest reason I should buy this? The biggest reason you should not buy this camera stabilizer right here is if you're willing to spend more money on a gimbal or a stabilizer. In the gimbal and stabilizer family, it kind of tends to be like what you pay for is what you get. So the biggest reason you should buy this right here, I think, is because it is awesome for the price. If you spend $65 on a gimbal, you're not going to get crap. So this thing will come at about $65 to $70, which is pretty insane actually. For a more upper end, a glide cam will be like $200, $250, somewhere in that range. And for a good gimbal, maybe like around $500. So as far as camera stabilizers go, this is really, really, really cheap. So if you have $100 for a stabilizer that you want to use your DSLR for, don't spend that on a gimbal, because that really just won't get you much of a gimbal. As it will get you a fairly good glide cam. Now, these things are not super easy to use. It takes a lot of practice to get good with these things. I'm not very good with this thing yet. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of practice to become good with one of these and become good at balancing them. It's a much different learning curve than for something like a gimbal. So would I recommend this thing to you? It really just depends on your situation, how much money you're wanting to spend on a stabilizer, what you're looking for in a stabilizer, a lot of these factors. If you want a camera stabilizer for under $100, this is a fantastic option. If you have more money to spend on a stabilizer, that's great. You can go ahead and do that, but this is a great option. So thank you everyone for watching my review on the NEEWER Glide Cam. If you want to check this thing out, I'll leave the link down in the description and you can go check that out there. Thank you everyone for watching. I will see you all next week. It is on a, what the crap do you call that? So this is on a, what is that called? Why is carabiner coming to mind? What is that called, Jensen? Here, this pole, this is awkward. The main thing that it can be extreme, depending on what you're, so if you're $5, this, and become a lot, and it's where you want at least a stabilizer, because it's not. What's your arm doing? Is the function of sliding. Here is this. Could you possibly take it out more clumsily? I've never worked with okay, I'm finished.